how about toggling these widgets into their preview and non-preview so that you can edit them or not edit them, right? I think the assignment asks you to be able to display them either in editing mode or in preview mode. All right. So one way that we could do that is to perhaps have like an edit button, right? That puts the widget into an edit format, right, and displays all the forms and whatnot. So let's do that. So let's in the widget list, right? We could have here in next to the delete button. Where's the delete button? Next to the delete button, we could have maybe an edit button, right? So button, and maybe we could use the ... as edit. So there we go. So if we click on the edit button, we would toggle it, as the selected widget. Yeah, and if it's selected, then I like to display the form so I can edit it, right? So let's do that. So what we could do here is keep track of which current widget is selected and only show that one, right? I believe the assignment also chooses on whether you can edit all at the same time and do a bulk save, right? Here, I'm going to show you how you would do it maybe if you want to edit just one at a time. Right? So one way to do that is that we're going to keep track of a state, right? So that we can know which current widget are we editing. Which current widget are we editing? By default, the widget will be no widget at all. Right? We're not editing any particular widget. But if you click on it, on edit, what we can do is that we can say that this dot set state, we can say that the current widget that you're editing is which one? Is the one we are iterating over, right? The current one that we're editing, right? That we are editing. So that it's gonna store. All right, what's wrong with this query? Again, right? The closure. Remember the closures. Okay. So now we know that's the currently selected widget. Just to make sure that that's working. Just to make sure that that's working, let's add here another li, and just display this dot widget dot title. Maybe by default the title here is empty. Otherwise, we're going to get a null exception. Oh, we got a null exception anyway. Read property yada yada yada. This dot state dot widget. Here we go. I notice that there's nothing, but if I select this one, notice that it's WA. There it is. WB. New widget. See that? So that's the currently selected widget, the one that I'm currently editing. I'm storing in the state. Yes. So if that's true, I can tell each widget. If it's the one that I'm currently editing, I can say, am I being edited? Editing. Am I being edited? Well, I'm being edited if my ID matches with the this.state.widget.id, right? And then I know that I'm being edited. Yes? And now with this edit, I can drive certain logic, right? So for instance, in the widget, in the heading widget, I have now editing is being passed to me, yes? And depending on whether I'm being edited or not, I display a form or I don't display a form, right? So here I can say div. I can say a div here, and by default, right? I can say if editing, so editing, if I spell it, if I'm editing, then I display maybe the title, right? But I'm sorry, if I'm not editing. If I'm not editing, maybe I display a title. If instead I am editing, right, I can display, maybe I can have a whole div here. So if I'm editing, I display that. And if I'm not editing, I display something else. So depending on whether I'm editing or not, I display one thing, or so I can toggle. Make sense? Right. So for instance, if I am editing, I can say, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show an input field, right? I'm going to show a select statement with a couple options, right? Heading 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So there it is. So by default, I'm not being edited, but if I click on it, it doesn't work. What? Oh, there it is. Sorry, I was clicking the wrong one. So notice that if I click on this, I'm editing that down below, or I'm editing this one. See that? Or I can have any number of widgets, so that if I click on it, I can edit, individual ones. Make sense? Why widget title rendering like that? Oh, it's supposed to be like that. Okay, so there it is. So editing that one, editing that one. I guess paragraphs. Oh, the paragraphs, we never said how do we render paragraphs. So let's take a look at that. Right, the paragraphs might render differently in their form. Their form might be something else, right? It might be that if we pass here editing, we have here div, and depending on whether we're being edited, so we say editing. So if we're editing, we render this div, and if we're not editing, oops. If we're not editing, then we render something else. So if we are editing, we just render a paragraph that has the property, widget dot title. Whereas if I am editing, I would render a text area, right, whose content is maybe the title, right? So here's a oh, there it is. So why is this? Why am I displaying this? Do I have it backwards? Wait, I'm sorry. If I am not editing, I show the paragraph. If I'm editing, I show the text area. Right. So there it is. So there's a widget. So it's an input field. There's a paragraph, right? So it shows the text area. There's a widget. It's an input field and a drop down. Right. So you can edit each one. Make sense?